Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. We're about to get started. It's going to be a fun one. Welcome to today's live stream. I'm super excited to welcome you here today. Before we get started and get into the really for real live, this is obviously a pre-recorded video where I can tell you a couple things and then we can get started. So honestly, what I'm doing is buying myself time to turn the camera on and make sure that everything sounds good. But while we do that, while we wait for myself, let's go ahead and comment below. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Maybe let's start with your name and where you're watching from. And then also I'd love to hear about maybe the latest project you're working on or your favorite software. So if you can post a link below, go ahead and post a link to your portfolio. We'd love to check it out and see what you're up to. And maybe even let us know what your favorite software is or maybe your favorite subject. Do you like web design or print design or making t-shirts or logos or branding? I don't know. Go ahead and comment below and let us know. We'd love to check it out. And then also, if you'd love to see what I'm up to, you can check out my work at derrickmitchell.com. You can see some YouTube videos at youtube.com/derrickmitchell. And then also live streaming at behance.net/Mitchell's Garage. So you can check me out there. And then did I say Instagram? I don't know if I said Instagram yet or not. Instagram.com/dmitchelldesign. So hopefully there's links and buttons and stuff here. Right there. Anyway, all right, guys, we're about to dive into some really cool stuff. Feel free to comment in the thread, and I'd love to, again, see what you're up to, and I'll try and answer your questions as we get going, but let's go ahead and dive in. Today's video is sponsored by the Graphic Design Bootcamp. If you're looking at becoming a graphic designer and you want to learn more about Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, creating real-world projects that clients would actually pay you for things like logos, business cards, letterhead, and much more. Check out the link below for more information and a deep discount to get started today. One last thing I was going to mention too, because I don't know how much time I'm going to need to turn all this on. Maybe it's ready to go and, you know, the real me, the live me can just cut this off and we can get to it. But in case I need a little bit more time, let me just tell you about myself. So we just cut myself off here. I always wanted to do that. Hey, what's going on, guys? It was a really terrible cut, but I always wanted to do it. Also, had some issues with the chat turning this thing on, but I think we're live now. I think it's working, so I would love to see what you guys are up to. Roy Grant, what's going on from Scotland? Thanks for jumping in. I see you over on Facebook. It's going to be a fun one today. So, yeah, jump into the stream, say hello, jump into the chat, I guess, and we're going to have a good time. So on that note, what do you guys want to learn? What do you guys want to do? I decided to do what I did on the last stream, which was basically wing it and not have anything planned and just kind of see what you guys are up to for the day, what's new, what you're working on, how I can help you out, maybe answer some questions, and go from there. So kind of a low-key day, nothing too crazy planned. We can get crazy if you guys want to get crazy, do some fun stuff. And if there's nothing in particular you guys want to learn, I might just make some thumbnails for my Behance profile. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So Roy Grant over on Facebook, what's going on, man? What's new? How's things? Also, we might be having some chat issues on the Behance chat. It was loading, and now I've got the beach ball. I think it's back. Hopefully it's back. All right, well, in the meantime, if you are tuning in from Behance, we have a brand new subscriber area. Really excited about it. There's a bunch of great content that I've put in there for you guys. Some free downloads, some course material, some editable Photoshop files. So if you're on Behance.net, you can go to Behance.net/Mitchell's Garage, MITCHELLS GARAGE, and it'll redirect. But there's some links there for you guys to check out on the stream. Yeah, that's good stuff. So what we want to do today, if there's nothing else going on, is I might make some thumbnails. I could also make some logo design stuff and have some fun with that. So let's just go ahead and kick it off. And what I'm going to do to get started here is open up my Behance link here. Yeah, Robert says issues exist in Behance chat. So I see you over on YouTube. Does that mean you tried Behance and then had to bounce? I couldn't get it to load either when I went live. I thought I had it fixed when I cut myself off, but it's kind of looking like maybe we have more issues here. Sorry guys, that's always a bummer. So what I'm doing is just pulling a couple things up real quick. Well, so here's a couple things. I just added a brand new logo design course. It's been up on Skillshare for a little bit, but it's brand new to the subscriber area. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much. Oh, it did that to me too, Robert. That's why I almost didn't go live. It says the Behance is telling me to verify your email in chat. There's Georgia in the background. She thinks that's crazy too, actually. Yeah, so I literally had to just go through the same thing. So they must have made an update or done something. So maybe that means that I now have access to some of the faster chat responses, so there's less latency. Maybe. That'd be cool. Don't know yet. So anyway, this logo design course, you now have access to that as a subscriber. I've got some design files in there. We've got this freelance course, so you guys can check it out. And then some behind the scenes stuff where I post before I go live and kind of say, hey, what's up? And here's what we're doing. And some fun stuff there. If you want to see more of what's available, check out this exclusive community content post thing, and you can kind of see what's going on there. All right, but in the meantime, let's go back to my live streams. Click on this guy here, scroll down, and you can see lately I've been real lazy with it and just letting it be whatever it's going to be. Which is, I mean, it's all right. It could be worse, but it could be a lot more polished, so maybe I'll jump into that. All right. Which one did we do on this? We did... Let's see what I made here. This is going to be, might do a short stream, you guys, just because I think there's some updates rolling out that are making it a little bit difficult. It's all good. So Roy and Robert, thanks for jumping in today. Let me know if there's anything specific I can help you with, what you're working on. In the meantime, let's make a new document. I'm going to start in Photoshop, I think. Let's go to, go to web. And I'm going to do 1920 by 1080. I'll go ahead and click create. And I need a new... This is why I don't stream in the middle of the day either. I got kids in the background having a good time. It's all good though. Surf hoodie. So this is what I made the other night, and I'm gonna make a thumbnail for it. So let's just start bringing pieces over. I'm gonna shift click all of this, right click, go to duplicate layers. I'm gonna change the document destination to this Untitled one. That's the new one we just made. I'll click OK, and it'll throw it over here. And you can see this is huge compared to my artboard. So let's go ahead and scale this down into place. Before I do, I'm going to make sure everything's linked and locked up. All right, that looks like it's going to work good. So let's go like this. Okay, that's close. Oh, weird. It changed the color fill too. That's strange. You know what's interesting? Like all day long, I've been dealing with like tech gremlins. Like even this morning when I went to turn on my computer, nothing worked. Nothing. Like it was all on, but nothing was clickable. I tried to force quit some things. I tried all kinds of stuff that usually fixes it right away. None of it worked. It was the most bizarre thing. And then even continuing on the rest of my day, kind of like the chat today, having to verify my email address, and everybody else having, I don't know. It kind of feels like a Monday as far as tech is concerned. So I don't know, crazy stuff. Jump over to my libraries. So what I'm going to do, I've done this before, but I'll just show you guys real quick. If you go to your applications, Robert says, I'm work lurking again. You do that a lot. I love it though. Work lurking, and we'll have to jump off for a meeting in a while. Non-destructive adjustment layers would be cool. Creating simple Photoshop rollover animations. Interesting. Okay. Rollover animations for web. Man, I haven't done that in a long time because most of what I do, I just build it in WordPress. But I've done that before. It's been a long time. Okay. Non-destructive adjustment layers. I am going to type that right in here because if I don't, I'll forget it. So non-destructive adjustment layers. Okay. In fact, let's just get to that now because if you're going to bounce, I want to make sure we cover that. I can always come back to this thumbnail later. Non-destructive adjustment layers. Okay. So non-destructive adjustment layers. This could almost just be the thumbnail for what I'm about to talk about. Man. All right. Excuse me. I'm trying to think of a good example for you besides just kind of like, how do we want to do this? Well, so I mean, really, it's pretty straightforward. There's really two places that I work with adjustment layers. So I have this hue saturation layer on my hoodie, okay, and I can kind of recreate this and show you how I did it. There's probably other ways to do it, but literally there's two ways that I do it. These are the ones that I rely on most. So the first is make sure you have the adjustment window open. How about color adjustments? Okay. So we could do hue saturation color adjustments. We could do some tinting. We do lots of stuff. So first of all, we need the adjustments window. So go to window. We want to go down to adjustments. Okay. And you're going to see all these guys right here. So there's these adjustments. And then also in the bottom of the layers, adjust this down at the bottom of the layers window. So I have all my layers here, but at the bottom of that tab, you see these little icons, and the one that's a half circle, like a circle with half black, half white, click on that. And these are also some adjustments we can do. Okay. Hey, it looks like Behance chat is working. What's up? Is it Suraj? I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Also, my scroll, dude, you guys, I'm telling you, it's like a weird tech. Like I can't scroll down and see the rest. There we go. How are you? I'm doing good. Thank you so much for jumping in. Yeah, definitely a few tech gremlins today, but that's all right. We're getting through it. So let's continuing on with the adjustment layers. So I'm going to turn off this hue sat layer, and let's just pretend like I wanted to modify this hoodie, which I do, because technically right now this is the actual gray color that it was. And a few ways to work. Robert's talking about how to adjust color. So first of all, when you get a minute, spend some time going to the adjustments window here, and then just hover over each one. Thanks, Siraj. I see you over on YouTube. Looks like you jumped over to YouTube from Behance. The chat was being a little bit strange. What's up, Karina, over on Behance? Thanks for jumping in. I'm good. Thanks, everybody. Let's add this adjustment layer. So when you get a chance, you guys just kind of hover over each one, and you'll see what each one of these does. So we've got brightness, contrast, levels, curves, exposure, vibrance. Vibrance is one that starts to adjust colors a little bit. We got the hue saturation. We'll talk about that. We've got color balance, white adjustment. We've got a photo filter. So photo filters are nice if you're working in photography and you want it to feel warmer. By warmer, I mean more of an orange glow to it, or colder, which would be more of a blue tone. We've got channel mixers, color lookup, gradient map, selective color. Oh, you know what? That might be a good one to play with too. Threshold, posterize, and invert. So all of these adjustment layers, let's just play with the hue saturation for a minute. If I add this, I'll just click right on it, and it's going to put that right above whatever layer I currently have selected. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that, because before I do that, if I hold down the Option key, is it the Option key? Oh no. Okay, so you get this new layer dialog box when I click, and I can click the Use Previous Layer to create clipping mask. And I can give it a name if I want to. I could even colorize it as a layer. Okay, I'll click OK, and it adds that hue saturation, and I don't know if you can see it on the stream, it's pretty small, but it adds this little arrow, like this little 90-degree bent arrow thing pointing down, which means it's using the layer below it to mask. The reason why you want to do that, let's jump over here into the properties window now. So I've got my hue saturation selected. I've got properties open. Again, if you don't see any of the windows I'm working on, come up here to window, and every window in Photoshop is listed here. I take that back. Almost every window in Photoshop, because I think under type, see, this is where I get confused. Illustrator moved the type menu around. Anyway, yeah, I think all the windows are here. Where's my character panel? Up here. Yes, I'm thinking of Illustrator. My bad. Anyway, so right here, we can adjust the hue and the saturation, but you're like, hey, nothing's happening. This doesn't work, Derek. Well, if you click right here on the Colorize button, now it colorizes this layer. So we can change the hue, the saturation, how much of that color is getting put down, and the lightness, how dark or light it is, okay? So that's one way to change color. Now the problem is it will apply to everything on that layer. And even more than that, if I hold down Option and click between these two layers, it's gonna unmask it. So we have this little, I'm between the sweatshirt layer and the hue adjustment layer. I'm holding down Option and then I click. And now if I turn this on and off, you'll see that this hue is adjusting literally everything underneath it, which is actually kind of a cool effect in itself. And because it added a mask to it also, right now it's white, which means there's nothing being hidden. If I get the brush tool and I make my fill black, and let's find a nice soft brush here, soft round. Oh, that is a happy accident. So what happened is I have a huge brush, and I clicked once and see my mask. See how it's got kind of a black soft. So what's going on is right here where this black mask is, the underlying layer is showing through. So the underlying being the hoodie and also the pink magenta colors. But that's actually kind of cool. I kind kind of dig it, just like that. All right, we're done. See you guys. No, so, and I see your question, Rob. I'll get right to you in a second. If I hit X, now I'm painting with white. So X swaps my fill and my stroke. So I just hit X to swap whether I'm painting with black or white. That's all I'm doing. Let's make this brush smaller so you can actually see what I'm doing. So if I start masking on this mask layer and the hue saturation, the stuff below it starts to pop through, anything below it. Okay, hit X, now I'm painting back with white and it starts to hide, hit X and it starts to come back. So anyway, that is one version of non-destructive adjustment layer, because you have a mask where you can basically erase or bring it back without destructively erasing the layer, and you can adjust the colors after the fact. So you can come down to any of these other layers and then come back to this adjustment layer, and in the properties window, all of your settings are still going to be there. Rob says, so if I crank on the curves and adjustment layer in RGB, when I convert to Cmyk, it flattens it, therefore it's not, therefore it's no longer non-destructive. Super great point. So typically I'll save like an editable file in that color mode, and then I might save another version in Cmyk before I render it out. So that's kind of like the last step I do if I'm going to convert it to Cmyk. But there is an option to not flatten it. You don't have to flatten it. So for example, what he's talking about, I have all this nonsense going on here. For the sake of keeping it pretty, let's just do that cool thing that happened here that we did that was cool. Anyway, so let's say I want to convert this to, right now you can see in the title, you can't see in the title. There we go. It's because I was on the hue saturation layer, so it changed the title. But if I click down here anywhere, you can see this is an RGB document. What it stands for is red, green, and blue. So if you're looking on a screen, you have red, green, or blue light shining on your eyeballs. So basically, when they're all on at full power, everything turns white. When they're all off, when there is no light being shined in your eyeballs, it's black, right? So then you mix the variations in between to get all these colors. Well, if you're in print, you don't print with light, you print with ink. So you got to convert it to Cmyk, which stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And hey, look at that, up here my colors. I've got cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. That's because in my colors window, I set it to the Cmyk sliders. You probably see RGB sliders like this, and you can see when they're all the way on, it turns white. But I prefer the Cmyk sliders. I like being able to dial in my, especially the blacks. I like being able to add a little bit of black to things to darken it up. An example of that would be if I just sample this color here. Sometimes I'll just drag down a little bit more to make something a little bit darker than whatever I'm about to do something with. Or in this slider, I'll just add a little bit more black or a little bit more color. And the purpose with that would be if I'm gonna, let's say, like add a little bit of like a vignette effect to it or something, I can kind of like paint over the corner, and now it matches that tone just a little bit darker. Looks like, hopefully that didn't freeze. Yeah, Frankie, there will definitely be a replay. So the replays stay up on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Behance. So you can check me out in all those places, and the replay will be live. All right, so back to Cmyk. So I've got all these different things happening, and what one thing to point out is these blend modes. The biggest thing that's going to get messed up when you convert this, Robert, if let's say I had a blend mode applied like screen. Screen is one of those that really works with the RGB color space because the way the light interacts with itself. This layer is now being screened with everything below it, getting this lighter color effect, even though the color of this layer is actually looking like this dark color. So let's go back to screen. And this time I'm going to go to image mode, and this, so image mode. Sorry, I wanted to go a little bit slower on this. Right now, this is an RGB document. So the way that Photoshop sees everything in this document, it's going to behave. It's going to translate the color in a certain way. Now, if I change it to a Cmyk color document, one more thing I want to point out before I do this. I always start an RGB in Photoshop for everything, because if I come into filters and I want to apply any of these filters, not all of these filters work in Cmyk. So let's go to image mode, down to CMYK. So let's say I was ready to print this and I wanted to convert the file color. So I have this option. Changing modes will discard some adjustment layers. Change mode anyway. So let's see what happens to this hue saturation, and let's see what happens to this overlay. If I click merge, what it's going to do, it's going to try and preserve the look of this and the coloring, but to preserve it and how those layers interact, it just flattens the whole image, which is kind of pointless, right? We want to keep it editable. Unless this is the last step and you're trying to print it. I'm gonna hit Command Z to undo it. Let's go to Image, Mode, CMYK Color again. This time, I'm just gonna click OK. I'm not gonna merge it, I'm just gonna click OK, and let's see what happens. Okay, the next thing, changing modes can affect the appearance of smart objects. So I have this classic surf as a smart object, but everything else is fine. But I don't have to rasterize it. I can say, no, just leave everything editable. Leave me alone and just do the change. So all of my layers are now editable, but look at how screwed up the colors get because it removed those adjustment layers, right? And this color overlay now set to screen, look at that, such a different results than what we had intended. So all that to say, oh, also let's look at our filters. So like we don't have access to the 3D filter anymore. Looks like a lot of these are still available, which is kind of new because for a while in older versions of Photoshop, a lot of the stuff went away. All right, so sometimes it might be best to start in CMYK if you want to keep it editable a certain way. Other times, what I typically do, like in this case, if I'm ready to print it, but I want it to stay like this, I'll save this as the editable version. And then the last step, I might even go to Layer and then flatten image this way. And it just flattens everything. Then I'd go to Image, Mode, CMYK. Click OK. And now this is a CMYK image. I can tell because in the title it says CMYK. And I would save this as a JPEG or a PDF or something and use this flattened file. But I would keep the editable layers file. So don't hit save right now. If you hit save, you just lost everything. So make sure you save a copy before you do that. If that makes sense. Speaking of, I have not even saved this document yet, but that's all right. That's why you have problems with adjustment layers. Is it because you're trying to convert to CMYK and then keep going after the fact? Is that what I'm hearing, Robert? Yeah, hopefully that helps you out. Does that answer your question? Do we need to keep going on some of the adjustment layer stuff, or does that kind of get you in the right ballpark? What else can we do? Let's go to Pexels. And I'm going to find a portrait photo thing. Let's see. I'm trying to look for a decent photo that's going to show what we need to show. This one might do it. So he's downloaded an image from Yaroslav. Thank you for the image. Shout out. Appreciate getting to use this photo we're about to play with here. So, all right, so this is also an RGB image. Look in the title, we can tell it's RGB. So what we could do, instead of colorizing this image specifically, we can come to the adjustments layer, and maybe you want to play with, I mean, there's a lot of things I would play with here. And actually, if I was truly working on this, this isn't even my workflow. So let me just show you a couple things and then I'll show you what I would really do. And we'll go from there. So let's find, where do I want to start? I guess we'll start here. So there's this image of a camera. That's your photo filter. I'm just going to click on it. It's going to add a photo filter above it. I turn it on and off. It's super, super subtle. So right now it's off. All right, now it's on. And in my properties, whenever you have an adjustment layer, let's just add a couple more. Whenever you click on that adjustment layer, you'll notice the properties window updates for you to change the settings of that adjustment layer. So if I click on the photo filter, these properties are going to change to the photo filter, and right now it has a warming filter. So by the term warm, what we mean is it adds, think of like a warm summer day. Why does it feel warm? Well, we've got the sun out, and the sun casts kind of a yellowish orange hue on things, right? Usually it's orange. On a cold winter day, typically the sun is behind clouds, it's moody, it's whatever, and it's more blue. So typically we would like a cooling filter. If we add one of these, it's going to be more of a blue tone to it. And look at how much colder this feels now. It feels like a cold winter day compared to if you throw a warming filter on there, a lot more warm. All right, so that's the term that we mean. But then we have all these other, things we could do too. We could add a magenta filter. We could add a sepia. Why does this feel like it's not doing anything? Okay, so the density slider was just cranked all the way down. So if we crank this way the heck up to 100%, you get that old school photo effect. We could even get creative with this if you wanted to click on the mask here. You could get your brush tool. At this point, I might even switch over to my Wacom tablet if I wanted to, but for now, it's fine. I might change my flow, scrub this down to like, I don't know, 7 to 15%, somewhere in there. I guess we're at 17% now. Let's see what happens. Painting with black, soft brush on top of this mask on the photo filter. And now I can kind of, and it's super subtle what I'm doing right now, bring some of her skin color back to it. Okay, so the rest of the image, it has that sepia tone thing going on. You can do this with eyes. You can do like a black and white image. So on and off. Maybe we do some of her hand as well. Maybe even the flowers. I don't know. Whatever you guys want to do. This is where Photoshop is amazing. You can get super creative with it. So see if I paint over the flowers, it brings them back into that white color. Okay. So just an example of how to work with an adjustment layer non-destructively. And by non-destructively, I mean we haven't touched the image below it. There's an adjustment layer above it. I can turn it on and off. And if I accidentally paint too much or screw it up, right now I'm painting with black. All I got to do is swap it. So black is on top right now. If I hit the double arrow or hit the letter X, it's going to swap. So white is now what I'm painting with. And now it's basically painting white back on top of this mask, which then it reveals this photo filter again by turning it back on, essentially. Okay, so there's an idea. And then even one step further, so we did this adjustment, but I could jump in here and change the filter to, something else on the fly, right? Let's do the warming filter again. And this time the density is cranked up to 100% still. So you can really see how orange this gets. So maybe I'm going to click on this mask. White is selected on top. I'm going to hit Option Delete on my keyboard to quickly fill the whole layer with white. I could also go to Edit, Fill, and then choose foreground color, which is white, or the drop down has the option white in there as well. Same thing, all does the same thing. 100 ways to do the same thing on Photoshop. So I've got this selected, and what was I going to do? Oh, I was going to invert it. So if I hit Command I on the mask, same as going to select. I honestly don't remember where I learned that. Command I inverts it. So now none of that filter is being shown. It's above it, it's turned on, but it's completely masked out. So if I wanted to, I could use this as a way to maybe let's paint with a white fill. My flow's down to like 9%, and maybe I start highlighting just the rim of her hair to kind of bring back a little bit more of an orange glow. Right? Lots of ways to work, lots of ways to have fun with this. So, and that's kind of a fun little thing you can do. Okay. All good, all fun, lots of fun things to do. Ryan Selby's back. What's up, man? I see you in the chat. Hey, it's been like a tech gremlin day. So like I can't scroll down. I'm just going to show you, Ryan. Like I go to scroll down and I can't scroll all the way to the bottom to see. Now what the heck? It's like I can't see your latest chat. And I don't know. It's being weird. It's being weird, man. And then everybody has to like log in and verify their email address or something today. It's been a little bit crazy. I don't know what to say. And I can't see your chat. Ugh, okay. But hey, thanks for joining. Also, Ryan, as a subscriber to my Behance channel, thank you. I added a new logo design course in there if you want to check it out. So free for you only because you're a subscriber. So perks of being a subscriber, guys. I'm
not sure I understand.
Apparently Siri is listening in on this too, and she doesn't understand. I'm not surprised. Okay, let's see. Robert says, yes, I've dabbled in adjustment layers, but most of my final work is set for Cmyk. Yep, let's print. Ever work, use AB, or lab. Okay, so Scott Kelby, who's legend in Photoshop, right? He has a book. He has a book. I can translate for you. Robert says, dang, I can't chat with Ryan. So Robert, I just told Ryan for you. And Ryan, I'm sure he says hi. I can't see your bottom. Hey, what's up? Abdesamad? Man, I butchered your name and I'm so sorry, but thanks for joining. All right. So let me get back on track. Lab. Yes, Scott Kelby. Okay, so he's got an amazing book. Let me see if I can find it. Scott Kelby. Oh, he's got a million books. I'm never going to find this. But he talks about how to use the lab color space. And it was incredible. Oh my gosh. He literally has a million books. I'm never going to find this. This one. I let somebody borrow this book and I never got it back, which is kind of super bummer. And I know you can't see my screen. I'm just making sure I can pull it up so you can see it. This one. So this book, Scott Kelby's 7-point system for Photoshop. He shows you how to take like a dull, boring photo like this thing on the left and make it super vibrant and awesome. And some of these tips might not be relevant because this is CS3. This is years ago. But he jumped through and converted through lab, the LAB color space to get here. And I don't remember how to do it because this was years ago that I looked at this book, but there you go. That was when I used to use lab. Okay, so now what I want to show you is how I would go about editing photos in Photoshop, or at least currently how I do it. These adjustment layers are fantastic ways to do things, especially like very selective adjustments. But before I even get to this stage, let's turn that off. I'd take this photo, I'd hit Command J to jump cut it to a new layer. So that way I always have the background or the original to come back to. And then I'd go to Filter. Oops, let's try that again. Filter, down to Camera Raw Filter, or Shift Command A if you're into shortcuts. And then, what's up, Mervin? I see you. Thank you. Mervin says, nice work. And then I can't see the bottom chat. What is actually happening right now? I don't even know. I'm on a roll. Thanks, man. So we are in Camera Raw in Photoshop. So this is how I would edit my photos. And I would basically just, so it might look like this to you when you first open it up. But we've got basic, curve, detail, color mix. I mean, we've got all these different things, right? But let me just edit this photo real quick. This photo is pretty much great because it's already been edited because I downloaded it from Pexels. I should show you a photo that's raw out of my camera, but you know what? This is what we have to work with, so we're just going to go with it. So I go through and I just literally grab each slider and I just scrub it left or right kind of aggressively until just to see what the change is making. And then I don't look at my slider. I just look at the image and I try and get it to where I'm like, oh, I like what that looks like. Okay. Then I go to the next one, tint, green, typically the tint slider almost always stays neutral. Exposure, do I need to bring it up and expose it more or darken it up? Depends on what I'm using it for. If it's a website background image, I might crunch that down a little bit and put text over the top. Lots of ways to work. Contrast, same thing, right? Do you want a high contrast image? Do you want kind of a flatter, Instagram filter effect going on? So you can bring the contrast down a little bit. Highlights. Okay, so in this case, the highlights in the flowers, if I double click on this, zoom in a little bit. Now remember, I have the original layer below what we're making. So I can come in and make selective edits. Sometimes I'll stack layers on top of layers. So maybe all I care about is, do these flowers look good? So I might ignore everything else, like these shadows down here are kind of dark. Maybe I grab the shadow slider and I bring it up and try and bring back some of that detail. Or the blacks, maybe I try and crush the blacks or bring them up a little bit, right? Texture, maybe because this is a floral, maybe I want a lot of texture kind of in the veins of the leaves here, right? Or the clarity, lots of clarity or not a lot of clarity. So if I'm editing just for the flowers, I'd go through and do that. I'll click OK. And now the photo is going to look terrible because I didn't edit this for the photo. Luckily, it's actually not as bad as it could be. But if I turn this off, there's the before, there's the after. Specifically, if all I care about in this case is the flowers, if I turn this on, you can see I get more detail from those edits. So what I can do, add this layer, turn it on. Let's add a mask to it. Let's get that brush tool back. And let's see. So right now everything's on. So let's invert this mask. The mask is selected, Command-I to invert it. So now it's all black and it's not doing anything. Let's get a white brush, nice soft brush, turn your flow down, and you can start painting in selectively. You know, let's say you want this detail to come back, or maybe just crank this up to 100%. I don't know, you do you, whatever you want to do. And now I've got a lot more detail on this. You know, and maybe some of that detail, maybe we bring some of that into the hair, right? Kind of make it look like she's lit a little more on the top of her head. So super subtle change on that layer, on and off. Okay, right? And that's just one layer. So now let's go back to the background, hit Command J again to jump cut it to a new layer. And let's drag it to the top. And now it's going to hide those changes we just did. I'm not worried about that yet. Let's go back to the filter, go back to Camera Raw. And is it opening? Did I not? What's happening? Oh, I see what I did there. My bad. Command Z, undo. I accidentally just reapplied the last settings I did, but I actually want to come down to the Camera Raw filter and open it up. All right. So here the photo is again, and maybe this time all you care about are the eyes. Maybe you're trying to make them really pop. Okay. So you could drag the exposure up a little bit. And I'm just worried about these eyes. Everything else is going to get messed up. Maybe some contrast. The clarity and texture are really going to make those eyes pop. And maybe the whites, bring the whites up. Okay, so it's going to look, it's not going to look natural. So you got to, I'm going to bring these blacks. Like literally everything else breaks, but all I care about is these eyes. So I'll click OK. There are some amazing plugins too by On1. That's a whole nother topic that does all this automatically. So now what I'm going to do is make a mask. This time I'm going to hold on the Option key and click on the mask. So by default, you can't see it. The mask button is down here, a little square with a circle in it. Hold down Option, click on it, and it fills the mask. It adds a mask and fills it as black at the same time. So now you can't see what we just did. So this underlying layer, we can rename this and call it, I don't know, floral highlights or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. On this layer, this is going to be the eyes. Okay. And so maybe I come in here and it's going to be a little bit extreme at first. Let's get a nice soft brush, make it a little bit smaller. We're going to paint with white. Let's turn our flow down a little bit. Okay. And look at, she looks kind of like an alien now. A little overdone. Swap, hitting X, and now I'm painting with black to kind of fill in right here where I missed. So obviously that does not look real, right? That's way the heck too much. So what we can do on this layer, just scrub the opacity down a little bit. Scrub it down to whatever looks natural. Okay, whatever cleans it up enough but isn't ridiculous. So if I turn that off, that's before. Turn it back on. There they are, brightened up just a touch. Guys, this a little bit goes a really, really, really long way. So this is something that is so easy to be overdone and make it look fake. I'm gonna Command J to jump cut this again. I'm gonna fill my layer, my mask with black. And this time all I care about is literally not the whites of her eyes, but the actual eye itself. So let's go ahead and make this 100%. I'm gonna make sure white is my foreground, and I'm just gonna brush in there. Okay, and this layer is still set to the layer's opacity below it, which is 39%. If I crank this up to 100%, you can see we've got some bleed over here. So let's fill this in so it's just her eyes, like literally just her eyes. And again, this is way overdone. but you can see how you can start to dial in just certain pieces of the photo. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of a fun way to work, is just grab pieces, go into the Photoshop or to the camera raw filter and dial in your settings. You could also do this stuff, be a little more tricky. You could do this stuff with adjustment layers too. Let's see if we can do the eyes with just the adjustment layers. So I'll come in here, go to the adjustments. Let's add, so it would be exposure. Yeah, it starts to get, I don't know. This is just a way that I found to work. I'm not telling you it's right or wrong. It's just how I do it. So, yeah, fun stuff. Thank you, Mervin. Says nice work. I can't see the bottom posts. Oh, well. And on that note, guys, I'm going to have to bounce here pretty soon. I got a Zoom call for work to jump on to. But thank you, Robert, with the question on the adjustment layers to kind of get us down this track, having fun. This is a lot of fun. And then if you want to learn how to use these adjustments, well, okay, so he doesn't really do a great job, this guy I'm about to show you, on, let me preface this. Incredible artist, but most of what he does is like speed art. So it's not like he's trying to explain every little thing. But if you just watch what he does, your mind will be blown at what's possible. You guys probably know who I'm about to show you, but Benny Productions, I don't know this guy, but has some incredible work. So check out his playlists if you want to see basically every adjustment he does. If you watch how he does it, he's almost always working in these adjustment layers. That's like all he uses is these layers right up here to make all of his changes. So as an example, let's say we want to add more highlight to this hair. He would add a, what would he add? Where is it at? He would add like maybe an exposure layer to it, mask it down, and I've got a fly on my head. Nice. Properties, what am I looking at? Oh, there we go. Exposure. Crank up that oh, we're just on the eyes. See, this is where it gets tricky. It's tricky. Okay. Let's unmask that. Crank the exposure up. Fill this with black, and then get a brush. Nice, soft, flowing brush, and paint down the edge here. Obviously, this is way too harsh, and I'm going too fast. But the point is, you start to add like side highlights and stuff. That looks nothing like what Benny does. So watch Benny's stuff because he's incredible. All right, guys. Man, I hope that helped you guys out. I will probably go live again later this evening with some more stuff. We'll probably continue on and have a good time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the non-destructive adjustment layers in Photoshop. Also, don't forget to check out the new stuff added to the subscribers area. You guys are awesome. Have an awesome day, and I'll catch you hopefully later. See you guys. All right, guys, thanks for watching today. I hope you learned a lot of valuable information, and I appreciate you sticking around to the very end. But before you go, just a couple things I want to remind you. The first is, if you haven't already, feel free to like this video if you can, depending on where you're watching from. Give it a thumbs up, or subscribe, or tap the bell, or give it a follow if you can. And also, maybe even just copy the link up in the browser and share it with a friend, or post it to your Facebook page. I'd really appreciate that. But again, just want to say thanks for sticking around, and I'd love to continue going live as much as possible and helping you guys out. So the best way that I can help you is by you commenting on the videos below. I read those comments. I engage with them as soon as I can, if I can, when I see them. So if it's live, I'll try and answer you right away. If this is a replay, you can still comment on the video, and I go back and I read those. So I just wanted to say thanks again for watching, and let me know what you're working on. I'd love to help you out, and hopefully we will see you in the next live. And to be sure you don't miss it, like this video and subscribe and follow and do the things. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later.